Well, we were describing the four aspects and powers of the Supreme Aditi, both on the Ishvara and Ishwari levels. And we gave a small description of Aditi from Sri Aurobindo's own description of the mother. There is a beautiful passage in Savitri which describes this universal mother. You know, this is the passage which comes in the adoration of the Divine Mother. The passage where Ashwapati meets with the Divine Mother. But what I would like to clarify here is this is the aspect of the Divine on the universal level. So a lovely passage, let me read it through. The presence he yearned for suddenly drew close. Across the silence of the ultimate calm, out of a marvelous transcendence's core, a body of wonder and translucency, as if a sweet mystic summary of herself, escaping into the original bliss, had come enlarged out of eternity. Someone came infinite and absolute. You can see a very direct description. Direct in the sense, there is no symbolism. Now you see, imagine the vision. The vision of the Divine Mother. Ashwapati is seeing her. What is he saying? The presence he yearned for suddenly drew close. The presence of the Divine for whom he was aspiring, praying, and all these days of 18 years of tapasya. So he is going to have the darshan of the deity now, darshan of that universal mother. So that presence has come close, is coming close to him now. But look at the adjectives that he is using. Across the silence of the ultimate calm. Remember yesterday when we said that out of this, the silence march, where the Supreme is going from that level of Sachidananda, the Aditi is pulling out the manifestation. So out of the silence of Sachidananda, the unmanifest, now something is coming forward. So that's the silence he's describing here. Across the silence of the ultimate calm, C capital, out of a marvelous transcendence's core, that's again the Sachidananda as a transcendence, a body of wonder and translucency, as if a sweet mystic summary of herself, escaping into the original bliss, B capital. So this presence, this Supreme Mother, the ultimate universal Mother, is carrying with her that Ananda, Satchitan Ananda. She is carrying that Ananda, that sweetness of Ananda, and she had come enlarged out of eternity. This is a beautiful word, enlarged out of eternity. So why should the Supreme Mother come out enlarged? Enlarged in the sense of manifesting herself, making herself more tangible, in the sense of giving herself. She could be there invisible. But here she is giving herself a form so that Ashwapati can see her. And someone came infinite and absolute. You see, very plain description. But each word applies to the Universal Mother. Infinite, and she is absolute. A being of wisdom, what we saw, a being of wisdom, power and delight. Obviously, those three aspects have to be there. The delight aspect has to be there in every form of the goddess. So, wisdom, power, delight. Even as a mother draws her child to her arms, took to her breast nature and the world and the soul. Nature and world and soul. Abolishing the signless emptiness, breaking the vacancy and voiceless hush, piercing the limitless unknowable into the liberty of the motionless depths, a beautiful and felicitous luster stole. Try to appreciate the language here. Because, we are not artists and painters to really visualize, and yet maybe a good artist could perhaps do something of this beautiful, luminous, sweet body of delight. So look at this. The power and light and bliss, a beautiful and felicitous luster stole, stealing, stole in the sense, from her unmanifest level, she is stealing herself to manifestation. What a beautiful word to say, stealing, in a kind of a very consciously and yet very, hidden manner. She is presenting herself to Ashwapati. The power, the light, the bliss, no word can speak, image itself in a surprising beam and built a golden passage to his heart, touching through him all longing sentient things. A moment's sweetness of the all-beautiful cancel the vanity of the cosmic world. Well, it goes on. One more, because I'll skip a couple of lines. A love that bore the cross of pain with joy, edemonized the sorrow of the world, made happy the weight of long unending time, the secret court of God's felicity. Affirming in a life-hidden ecstasy, it held the spirit to its miraculous course. Carrying immortal valleys to the hours, it justified the labor of the suns. For one who was there supreme behind the God. And these are the last two lines that I want to tell you. The mother of all Godheads and all strengths, who mediatrix binds earth to the supreme. That's what we are discussing now. That this is the mother, Aditi, the supreme mother. Mother of all Godheads. The Godheads are still to come, but she is the creatrix. And all strength, who mediatrix, she is a mediator between what? Between earth that is yet to come, and the supreme. So she is that mediatrix. That's why Sri Aurobindo calls her the mother of all Godheads. Now this is the simple description we have in Savitri. There are quite many other smaller ones which I picked up, but I'll see them later as we come to them. So that was the first thing. And secondly, I wanted to take you through the Ishwari aspects, which I think most of you here, as I see, would have read, but maybe a couple of people have not seen this book or read this description. So for their benefit, I'll skip through. In brief, I'll tell you which are the four aspects of the Ishwari. Because we all know that, but as I said, the four aspects, I'll read out, Four great aspects of the mother, four of her leading powers and personalities have stood in front in her guidance of this universe and in her dealings with the terrestrial play. But at the same time, I'd like to make a few things clear because, well, every scholar, every reader has his own interpretation. But the way I understand is this. Four of the great aspects stood in front of our guidance of this universe. Now remember this. Who are these four gods, goddesses? Maheshwari, Mahakali, etc. They are not in the supramental. They are in the overmental itself. But they are on the highest level of the overmind, very close to the supermind. Because if they enter the supermind, they lose their form, they lose their name, they become the aspects of wisdom, power, etc. So as we said, Aditi is the only consciousness, although she doesn't have a form. She is not given a form, just a name to say she is the creatrix. That's why maybe Sri Aurobindo, instead of calling her Aditi, he just calls her the Supreme Mother. Mother in the sense of the creatrix, Mother who brings out of her own womb this universe. It's more in that sense. So even Aditi we can delete and say the Supreme Mother in order to keep her to the transcendental supramental level. Now the lower down, just across the borders of the supermind into overmind, are these four aspects. Why? Why am I concluding that way? That's because in her guidance of this universe and in her dealings with the terrestrial play, so these four aspects, Maheshwari, Mahakali, etc., are in direct contact with this universe, with this earth, with this world, with you and me. One is her personality of calm wideness and comprehending wisdom and tranquil benignity and inexhaustible compassion and sovereign and surpassing majesty and all-ruling greatness. This is her aspect. There are two things that we will see, two or three things. One is the wideness. Yesterday Sampadanand was telling us something about the Varuna aspect, the wideness. And then the aspect of wisdom and inexhaustible compassion and sovereign and surpassing majesty and all-ruling greatness. That is Maheshwari. So she is wisdom, there is inexhaustible compassion and a wideness, a calm wideness. Next is another embodies her power of splendid strength and irresistible passion, her warrior mood, her overwhelming will, her impetuous swiftness and world-shaking force. This is the aspect of Mahakali. Of course, we'll get more details. You can see for yourselves. I'm giving you here an abridged version. So, irresistible passion, her warrior mood, her overwhelming will, her impetuous swiftness. A third is vivid and sweet and wonderful, with a deep secret of beauty and harmony and fine rhythm, her intricate and subtle opulence, her compelling attraction and captivating grace. This is the aspect of Mahalakshmi here. Sweet and wonderful, and with a deep secret of beauty and harmony. So the words that really can be attached to Saraswati Mahalakshmi are her beauty, her sweetness and her harmony. The fourth is equipped with her close and profound capacity of intimate knowledge and careful, flawless work and quiet and exact perfection in all things. The fourth one, which we said since in the first half, we were saying, the Mahasaraswati aspect is intimate knowledge. Now I suppose we in this present yuga or age of knowledge, where technology is being used to bring that knowledge to your intimacy. Now you understand the meaning of technology. Why suddenly it is taken a burst in the universal consciousness? Because it's bringing that Vedic knowledge, which was afar, which was alien, because we didn't know Sanskrit, we don't know symbolism, we don't know anything. But technology today is helping us to bring that same knowledge into your mobiles, into your internet, into your whatever. So this is definitely at the age of Saraswati, because knowledge has become intimate. Knowledge not only of the Vedas, but you can ask for anything. How do you make a computer? How do you put everything your computer can tell you. Next, careful, flawless work. That is your management that has come forth. Now the meaning of the existence of management is precisely this yuga. Needs this kind of a flawless work. You see, I really look at all these things not as one more branch of management has started. You see, when I was a kid, there was no question, there's nothing as management anywhere. We used to have our regular subjects, but no subject of management was there. Why? Because it's now, this management has come as an embodiment of bringing to human consciousness what is the meaning of flawless work. That means perfection. You see how whole evolution takes place. We think, oh, what's happening? We are the same, people who have not changed our consciousness. That's true. But on the outer level, nature and Prakriti are going on towards that evolution. So the flawless work is the business of all the management groups, whatever way you want to do it. But flawless work is the perfection work. And for that there are different schools of thought, different philosophies, different cultures bringing it out in their own way. So essence of management, flawless work, and quite an exact perfection in all things. Wisdom, strength, harmony, perfection are their several attributes, and it is these powers that they bring with them into the world, manifest in a human disguise in their vibhutis, and shall found in the divine degree of their ascension in those who can open their earthly nature to the direct and living influence of the Mother. To the four we give the four names: Maheshwari, Mahakali, Mahalakshmi and Mahasaraswati. This was a brief description. After that, Aurobindo will take up in the same chapter 6 of the Mother a longer description of all the four aspects. Now what's interesting is there are other great personalities of the Divine Mother, but they were more difficult to bring down and have not stood out in front with so much prominence in the evolution of the earth spirit. Now what is important here is that these four aspects are already functioning, interacting, guiding this earth, this creation. As we said, in their own rhythm. The rhythm of wisdom, etc. There are four yugas. But what I wanted to read is, he says, none or all of them, the Balarama, Sri Krishna, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, he says each one of them projects himself in that particular yuga, but carrying the other three with him. That means it's never an exclusive Maheshwari or exclusive Mahakali. These powers are in the forefront in that yuga, in that period. But behind them, there are others who are supporting. In their own way, they are helping and supporting that yuga. It doesn't mean when there is wisdom, there is nothing of harmony and delight and perfection. But the stress is on wisdom, the stress is on strength, the stress is on harmony, the stress is on perfection. So it doesn't mean that in this yuga, where we said Mahasaraswati, perfection of work, is the front image, it doesn't mean there is no wisdom, it doesn't mean there is no strength. But what the most important sentence is, he says, once in a while, in these four yugas, the divine comes down with all the four aspects together in one person. That's the most important sentence. That once in a while, once these four chakras are over, four yugas are over, the divine descends with all the four aspects in one personality. And obviously, this book, The Mother, talks about this personality. Now you see the rationale of why the Mother has come. At the end of the cycle of the four yugas, there's one single personality called the Mother or Aurobindo, who have got all the four aspects in one person. That is why the Mother can say, I am Mahalakshmi, I am Saraswati, and not only say, she has shown herself in all the four aspects of many a disciple. So that is the click I got suddenly in this sentence, the why of the mother. And we say, well, there are so many ammas and mothers in the whole country and in the whole world. But here is one who has brought together all the four in a single personality. And that's what Aurobindo is describing here, that there are these four personalities. But then there are other great personalities of the Divine Mother, but they are more difficult to bring down and have not stood out in front with so much prominence in the evolution of the earth spirit. There are among them presences indispensable for the supramental realization. Most of all, one who is her personality of that mysterious and powerful ecstasy and Ananda, which flows from a supreme divine love, the Ananda that alone can heal the gulf between the highest heights of the supramental spirit and the lowest abysses of matter, the Ananda that holds the key of a wonderful divinest life and even now supports from its secrecies the work of all the other powers of the universe. But human nature, bounded, egoistic and obscure, is inapt to receive these great presences or to support their mighty action. This is a very important addition of the sentence. Aurobindo says, these four are active, fine, Maheshwari, etc. But one personality, there are other personalities of the mother who will come when the supermind comes in. But he says, there is one of them, the personality of Ananda, the goddess of Ananda, the power of Ananda, who should have been here, because that is one of the most powerful, important personalities, especially, as he says, that alone can heal the gulf between the highest heights of the supramental spirit and the lowest abysses of matter. So one personality that is kind of lacking, we could have called it as five personalities, five powers of the mother, but one of them has not come. Although that's one of the most important, to link matter with the supermind. And on that the mother gives a comment here. She says, Mother in 1954, August 25, she says, she has come, she is the mother personality of Ananda. She has come, bringing with her a splendor of power and love, an intensity of divine joy unknown to the earth so far. The physical atmosphere was completely changed by it, saturated with new and marvelous possibilities. But, this is the but we have to see. But for her to be able to settle and act down here, she needed to meet with at least a minimum of capacity to find at least one human being having the prerequisite qualities in the vital and physical nature, a kind of a super Parsifal endowed with a spontaneous and integral purity, but at the same time having a strong and balanced body in order to bear the intensity of the Ananda she had brought without giving way. So in 1954, not exactly in 1954 but earlier to that, this fifth aspect of the mother, the aspect of Ananda, the personality of Ananda, she came down. I think if I'm not too wrong, she does, maybe during the Second World War or just before the Second War, I should verify that. When this Ananda came upon earth, the earth itself revolted. And one of the symptoms of the revolt was the Second War. The Second War, the whole earth with its vital, it rejected that Ananda. That's why even later on she will describe. And that rejection, she says, it could not stay on the earth because there's not even one person who could receive it. It says one human being having the requisite qualities of the vital and physical nature. That means the vital purity and a body that is strong. Strong not physically, you can run an Olympic, that's not the strong body. A body which is open, which has the tapasya, which has the strength, not only the external suppleness and strength and speed, all that we understand, but a body which is inwardly much more prepared as a consciousness. So upon this earth, there's nobody to receive that Ananda. But that tells us a lot of things. That you see, we have said, question of the manifestation of these four powers. That means in order to receive the mother, these four aspects or any of these aspects, there's got to be some receptivity in some individuals. Mother says even one human being. So what is it that is implied here? That when the higher consciousness comes, there's got to be some people, one to begin with, to receive, because that one person who receives becomes the anchor, who receives the force and anchors it to earth. Because that Aurobindo and the mother themselves have done as avatars. But amongst the human beings also they require some people. But alas, there are not too many. One or two in those early ages of ashram sadhana period, one or two came up. They received it. They manifested it. They hooked it. And that is why I have my veneration, admiration, adoration for all those early sadhaks who did sadhana as a tapasya. And thanks to them, today we are doing all that we are doing in the ashram. People come, people go, and darshan and all that. Because that power has been hooked to earth. Otherwise, we don't know. Even the mother and Aurobindo would have withdrawn long back, perhaps, not seeing any kind of receptivity upon earth. So, whomever they brought in those early years, like Champaklal and Onlikanta and Pavitra and Amrita, so they came with them. As I once in my talk said, they are like the apostles of Mother and Aurobindo. Apostles are the persons who hook the divine consciousness to earth. And these were these apostles. After that is all a tragic story. There is no apostle. You can still count them on the fingertips and say there are 12 or 10 or 8. But the rest of it is all a mediocre, mundane thing. So this is what is important where she says, people are not ready. So even these four aspects that have come, we thank those early sadhaks. And because of which the earth, India and earth is really enjoying the powers of the mother. Because you see, it's not just that mother or Aurobindo they bring down. Their job they have done. But we have to receive. So if there is no receptivity here, there is no hooking to the earth consciousness, the power will recede. And that's exactly what has happened to Ananda. Till now she has not obtained, she means the power of Ananda, the personality of Ananda. Till now she has not obtained what was necessary. Men obstinately remain men and do not want to or cannot become supermen. They can only receive and express a love cut to their measure, a human love, and the marvelous joy of the divine Ananda escapes their perception. So at times she thinks of withdrawing, finding that the world is not ready to receive her, and this would be a cruel loss. It is true that for the moment her presence is more nominal than active, for she does not have the opportunity to manifest herself. But even so, she is a powerful help in the work. For of all the aspects of the mother, this is the one which has the greatest power for the transformation of the body. All that I'm reading is from the mother, please remember. For the transformation of the body, she, as puts it, she is the greatest power. So apart from these four powers, wisdom, strength, etc., this power of Ananda is useful for the transformation of the body. Well, I'm sure by now you know why. So the intrinsic part of Ananda is love. The strength of love is a strength of identification. On the human level also we feel that, we can experience that on our own infinitesimal, impure level also. We say, I love the person. There's a question of an identity. So imagine the divine love, it identifies itself, and thereby and therefore it has the capacity to transform. And we said that is how Savitri transforms death, through love. And this is what we said is our Mahakali also. She transforms. About Mahakali he tells, for she too is the mother and her love is as intense as a wrath. And she has a deep and passionate kindness. So let's not think that Mahakali means just a destructive force. Her love is as intense as her wrath. This is the thing that I'm telling. They go together. So when Savitri is conquering death, it is not out of hatred, out of anger, out of wrath. Yes, there is a kind of a Mahakali's rupa and Ramala form is there. The wrath of that death is blocking her way, so she becomes powerful and angry. But not this anger and wrath of that we human being thing. There is a sense of love behind it. So Mahakali has that, Savitri has had that, and then we see. So for mother she is saying, for me she is the most important aspect, the descent of Ananda. Instead, the cells which are able to vibrate to the contact of divine joy, to receive and preserve it, are regenerated cells on the way to becoming immortal. I'm sorry, I misread one word. Indeed, not instead. Indeed, the cells which are able to vibrate to the contact of divine joy, to receive and preserve it, are regenerated cells on the way to becoming immortal. A crucial sentence. How does Ananda work? How does love work? Because by the touch of this divine joy, the cells open themselves up to the supermind. I mean, these are things we may not understand. There is too much of an occult science in that. But intellectually we try to understand that she says, out of this touch of joy, the cells open up. So you see, there is a meaning between joy and opening. In sorrow you close down. When you are happy you open up. That's our human experience too. We share our happiness, party lagao, ye lagao. It's a vital thing, but the question of sharing, opening, is there on the cellular level, the same aspect. Of course, for cellular level, it's not just the happiness. It must be the intensity of Ananda which can open up the cells, and then so she uses the word becoming immortal. But the vibrations of divine joy and those of pleasure cannot lodge together in the same vital and physical system. I'm just going to tell you. The divine joy and the vital cannot be together. You cannot be vitally captured and impure and while asking for divine Ananda. So Ananda and the vital don't go together. So he says, so one must have totally renounced experiencing all pleasure in order to be in a state to receive the Ananda. That is what she was seeking in a body that has no vital pleasure in it at all. Purification, and I would say the absolute purification of the vital. It doesn't know the meaning of pleasure. Experiencing all pleasure in order to be in a state to receive the Ananda. what comes to you immediately when you read this sentence? You see, so one must have totally renounced experiencing all pleasure in order to be in a state to receive the Ananda. That means the mother and Sri Aurobindo did not know what is the meaning of experiencing pleasure. Pleasure is what level? Physical and vital. So here are two beings who never knew the meaning of pleasure. So their body was so immaculately pure. And that's what our famous Swami Vivekananda declared in the US, that never have I felt the desire for a woman. In the US he states, I mean, a sannyasin who is declaring that is not telling you a lie. So he says, never have I felt the desire for a woman. That means no pleasure at all. That man could be Vivekananda, and this man can be Sri Aurobindo. So where are we? Talking about Ananda, talking about transformation, talking about yoga. And today we have all got badges saying, I'm Sri Aurobindo's, I'm doing Sri Aurobindo's yoga, I put a label here, put a label here, that I'm practicing Sri Aurobindo's yoga. It's a fie upon them who say about Sri Aurobindo's yoga. Nobody is doing Sri Aurobindo's yoga. None of us, sorry to say that. I mean, I may be puncturing your egos, but let me be honest. Because for me, Sri Aurobindo's yoga is not just playing around, fooling around, and saying, oh, I'm reading life divine. Nothing. Either you do it or don't do it, or let's not claim it, Because this is falsehood. See, what distinguishes your weakness is one thing. But to claim and to label yourself as doing Sri Aurobindo's and Mother's yoga is falsehood. And falsehood, Bhagavan kare, you don't get into that. Falsehood can never be, it means an absolute stroke of grace. So weakness hum sab mein hai. But to have the falsehood is this vital pishacha, rakshasa, that mesmerizes you, that blinds you with your own falsity. So that is, as we say, Bhagavan na kare. God forbid that you get into falsehood. So here Mother is telling, very sadly, but very few are those who can renounce pleasure by the very fact, renouncing all participation in active life and plunging into a rigorous asceticism. The moment we say no desire, you leave the world and go into the forest. But he's saying no, all participation in active life. So here is a gentleman who led all the active life. Worst of politics under the Britishers, fought for the country. Most active man one can think of. And yet, he didn't plunge into rigorous asceticism. And among those who know that it is in active life that the transformation must take place, some try to see pleasure as a more or less warped form of Ananda, and thus justify in themselves the quest for personal satisfaction, creating in themselves an almost insuperable obstacle to their own transformation. She doesn't mince words. She says, we see pleasure as a more or less warped form of Ananda. I mean, you understand the meaning of warped? I mean, it's a curse. That's what I was calling falsehood. And then all of us get into this, justify in themselves the quest for personal satisfaction. They will laddu bhi khao, biryani bhi khao, and then you say, all life is yoga. Sri Aurobindo has given us a nice dagger to kill ourselves. We have the label, all life is yoga, and then he says, today is a marriage day, I should take biryani, and today is my birthday, I should take lollipops and cakes. And here was one man who said, this extra half a lemon, should I take or not? Because their quota was half lemon, and somebody gave him extra half lemon, and he said, is it not desire to take extra one lemon, half lemon? That is what I call tapasya. Not to, as he says, and then we just justify ourselves in the quest for personal satisfaction, creating in themselves an almost insuperable obstacle to their own transformation. Insuperable. And how much we all like comfortable in this insuperable falsehood. So that's why, I stopped calling myself doing Aurobindo yoga. The more you read about it, you realize that less you are doing it. Long back, in my ignorance, I said, yes, I'm mother's child. But today I cannot call myself. It's warped form of Ananda. I'm literally, physically a warped form of Ananda. It's difficult. Let's be honest. In yoga, the first thing is sincerity. And we are all to the brim insincere. And there also again we warp it, we color it, we envelop it. So friends, if you come to me, I'm a bit strict about sadhana because I do not want to, because I don't claim myself, I hate those who claim themselves, because I know how much that is falsehood. It's better to be a devotee of Ramakrishna or Vivekananda or some Guruji. You open your Asta channel, there are dozens of them or dozens of them. Taliyan bajao, masti karo, gana gao, and you think that you are doing sadhana. And some people go to Goloka, somebody goes to Ananda Loka, somebody goes to Jagat Loka. You don't know what Loka you are standing in. Well, Sri Aurobindo is tough. The mother continues, she came down because there was a possibility. Because things had come to a certain stage and the time had come when she could descend. She is the mother of Ananda. In fact, she came down because I thought it was possible that she could succeed. There are always possibilities only. They must materialize. You see, a proof of what I told you is that it happened at a given moment, and for 2 or 3 weeks, the atmosphere not only of the ashram but of the whole earth was surcharged with such power, precisely with so intense a divine joy, which creates so wonderful a power that things which were difficult to do before could be done almost instantaneously. There was a terrible fight with the inconscient, for as I saw that the receptivity was not what it ought to be, I put the responsibility for it on the inconscient, and it was there that I tried to give battle. I don't say that this had no result, but between the result obtained and the result hoped for, there was a great difference. So that's what is the descent of Ananda and the withdrawal of Ananda. And the loss is ours. And to give you a very concrete example, in 1965 or 66, I forget, when there was a riot in Puducherry, it was an anti-Hindi riot. I don't know if somebody remembers. We had in Tamil Nadu anti-Hindi riots, So supposedly ashram was pro-Hindi and people are full of Hindi belt. So the local Tamilians, they revolted, they had a riot, they burnt our post office that you see now, was fully burnt at that time. They put fire and burned the thing. And they were pelting stones even at the mother's room in the ashram. And we were kids, so we were brought at midnight to take shelter in the main ashram building. And some of our heroes, young people at that time, went out on the streets to fight back these people who are doing the looting and all that. At that time somebody asked the mother, "Mother, you being there, how could there be this kind of a riot?" Not only right, but burning or pelting stones into the mother's room. They did not reach her, but they are throwing toward that in the samadhi and all that. But she says, because there is a ashram, there is a cloud of darkness on the ashram. So when there is this impurity that spreads around, then the anti-divine forces attack. So even she can't help it. We are responsible for that. This kind of, she said, don't blame me. You people out of your impurity, your desires, your ambitions, you have brought that cloud of darkness and revolt. You are responsible, don't tell me. On the contrary, she protected that nobody dies, in the ashram with all the things that were happening. Because one person was beaten up black and blue, he was not almost killed, but that person survived later on. But she had to go out of the way and protect immensely, I suppose. And because we had invited the trouble. So what I want to say is that when we are not prepared, the anti-divine forces come. And if there are problems around, problems in the ashram, problems in Aurobindo, the divine says, don't blame me. You are to be blamed. So you see, friends, how much of this remains with us, that how much is important. That is not just people come to Puducherry and he says, the other day somebody says, I'm in Puducherry. The previous day somebody says, why have I come to Puducherry? You say, I come to do sadhana. So is it that you want to do sadhana, or you just say, I'm in a nice place, in a peaceful place, in a beautiful multinational place as Aurobindo is close by. So remember, sadhana, Puducherry is a place of sadhana. Not because it's cheaper and quieter and no pollution and all that. In fact, we are polluting the place if we don't do sadhana. Pollution is not the Delhi pollution, it's the pollution of this vital. So those who come to Puducherry, we have got to be extremely careful that we do not pollute this place. We bring in the backlog of all our vital things, our vital pleasures, vital desires. You pollute Puducherry, you come in. That's what Mother told long back, that during the Darshan times is the worst time in the ashram. Because hundreds of people come, bringing their whole vital, leave it behind the whole package in the ashram, the samadhi and ashram. So she says, during the ashram time, the atmosphere here is very dense and dark. Yet people come as if, they come to Ganges, throw their baggage here and go away. So the ashram, Puducherry is an inviting place, it's a beautiful place. But come with your purpose. Be clear why you are coming. Not because you have got an apartment here and a lovely room there and a lovely dining room there. Well, that was the Mother's 4 aspects. And, I don't know if I should take anything more than this. I think I wanted to take the 4 what is that? Well, whatever. You see, we have some time left. Yeah. You see, we have the 4 aspects of Ishvara, Ishwari. But one thing before we go, I would like to read something. Because sometimes you see, Aurobindo uses a completely different terminology. Like we talked about Sri Krishna being in the Satya Yuga. One of my friends told me, Ananda, in our mythology, Sri Krishna is not supposed to be in Satya Yuga, he comes in Dwapara. So he said there's a kind of a mismatch between Dwapara, Treta, Satya. So we could be a bit of, confused. But that is why I forewarned to say that these words of Balarama, Sri Krishna are not the traditional names. So let us not link up that Sri Krishna means how can he be in Satya Yuga? There's got to be another yuga. This Aniruddha, how can he be in the Kali Yuga? So therefore, I would say that be very clear that these are names that he has used for the convenience of the personality concerned, not the name. It could have been Aniruddha or somebody, Prabodh Kumar. What is important is the person, the personality, the character. Okay? So similarly, I wanted to bring to you another concept of the four Purushas, because the moment I am uttering this, some people may have the question of why is it that there are what about the four aspects of the divine? We said the three aspects of the mother, the transcendental, the universal, the individual. But there is also in our Vedic Upanishadic psychology, four aspects of the divine, not just the three aspects. Transcendental, universal, individual is what Sri Aurobindo has given us. But what the Upanishads give us is the different aspects of the divine. So they are the four aspects, and in one letter Sri Aurobindo clarifies these two. This is the aspects of Vishwa or Virat, the spirit of the external universe, Hiranyagarbha or Tejasa, the luminous, the spirit in the inner planes, Prajna or Ishvara, the superconscious spirit. So we have basically three names, I'll tell you the fourth later. So we have Virat, Hiranyagarbha and Prajna. So these are the three levels. There's fourth one is called the Turiya, the fourth level. So these are the four levels of the divine as given in our Vedanta. But Sri Aurobindo has given the three simpler terms, transcendental, universal and the individual. But very interestingly, as I told you, he uses these four aspects of the divine given by Upanishads in Savitri. So there is a beautiful passage in book 11 and canto 1. Of the book 11 there is only one canto. So in the time remaining I will read out some important lines. In him the fourfold being bore its crown that wears the mystery of a nameless name, the universe writing its tremendous sense in the inexhaustible meaning of a word. In him the architect of the visible world, at once the art and artist of his works, spirit and seer and thinker of things seen, Virat, who lights his campfires in the suns, and the star-entangled ether is his hold, expressed himself with matter for his speech. Objects are his letters, forces are his words, events are the crowded history of his life, and sea and land are the pages for his tale. This is the Virat Purusha, or what we'll say the Jagrat Purusha, the awakening, the awakened Purusha. That means the divine is there on four different levels. One is divine as the Virat Purusha, or another Upanishad tells us Annam Brahma. That means matter itself as the divine, as the Brahman. So that is the Virat Purusha, the awakened Purusha. So that's what Sri Aurobindo is describing here beautifully. He says, Virat who lights his campfires in the suns, and the star-entangled ether is his hold. Expressed himself with matter for his speech. You see, now is the question of matter. Objects are his letters. It's everything to do with material, matter, physical things. Objects are his letters, forces are his words, events are the crowded history of his life, and sea and land are the pages for his tale. So this is the Virat, the awakened Purusha or the Brahman on the material physical level. Next is Hiranyagarbha or the Tejasa, the spirit in the inner plane. Now, if I can classify, the Virat is the physical. Now, the Hiranyagarbha is the subliminal. What does it mean here? Hiranyagarbha, author of thoughts, well, Hiranyagarbha in Sanskrit it would mean the golden womb. Author of thoughts and dreams, who sees the invisible and hears the sounds that never visited a mortal ear, discoverer of unthought realities, truer to truth than all we have ever known. He is the leader on the inner roads, a seer, he has entered the forbidden realms. A magician with the omnipotent wand of thought, he builds the secret uncreated world. Armed with the golden speech, the diamond eye, his is the vision and the prophecy, images casting the formless into shape. Traveler and hewer of the unseen paths, he is the carrier of the hidden fire. He is the voice of the ineffable. He is the invisible hunter of the light, the angel of mysterious ecstasies, the conqueror of the kingdoms of the soul. But I'm not explaining. I just want to give you the idea first and then we'll come to it later. Then we have the third one, is the Prajna. A third spirit stood behind their hidden cause, a mass of superconscience closed in light, creator of things in his all-knowing sleep. All from his stillness came as grows a tree. He is our seed and core, our head and base. All light is but a flash from his closed eyes, and all-wise truth is his mystic heart. The omniscient ray is shut behind his lids. He is the wisdom that comes not by thought. His wordless silence brings the immortal word. Well, as in Aurobindo's analogy, the third level would be equated with the supermind. So we have the physical, the subliminal, the supramental. And then we have the fourth one, the Turiya. It says, above the brooding bliss of the infinite, its omniscient and omnipotent repose, its immobile silence, absolute and alone, all powers were woven in countless concords here. So this is a passage in Book 11. We will take it up later in greater detail. But what I wanted to do today is now, if we can understand what I've done, brought you through the levels of the manifestation, but gave you a detailed description of the mother, because she is the source, she is the cause of this manifestation. And she being the cause, she spreads herself into two aspects, the personal, the Ishvara and the Ishwari aspect. The Ishvara aspect proceeds along with the Purusha aspect, and the Ishwari aspect has her own deities, the personalities. And these four have always dominated this evolution in one period or the other. And they have come down as one person, fortunately for all of us, in this yuga, in this time, in these decades, as Mother Aurobindo. So till now there are four different personalities, but now they're all in one. That is the meaning and relevance of Mother Aurobindo. And then we have also seen into the importance of the Saraswati, the yuga at present, and that what is it, why is it so very important. And then I clarified a little bit about the three aspects of the mother, but then I took you also give you an idea about the four aspects of the divine according to the Upanishads, so that you do not confuse saying why Sri Aurobindo said this, why Upanishads have said that. Yes, Sri Aurobindo is in a way much simpler, lesser nomenclatures, and he just calls it transcendental, universal, individual. Whereas, of course, he does use the Upanishadic terms of Virat, etc., but that is, again, he reinterprets them in the light of what they represent. The awakened is the physical, the other is the subliminal, the other is the supramental. Because these are his terminology, the physical, vital, mental, supramental are this terminology that Sri Aurobindo uses. So he only equates these Upanishadic names to them. And of course Sri Aurobindo does this kind of an equation between the different aspects with the psychological aspects of the human being. You see, when we say the physical and the subliminal, etc., they are the psychological aspects of human beings. So Sri Aurobindo basically deals with the Vedas or the Upanishads or any of these things, of the scriptures. Even the Gita, he looks at all of them through the psychological lenses. In fact, that was the original intention of the Vedas themselves. They did not give us Varuna and Indra and Agni for the sake of the names. Of course, as Sampadananda yesterday told us, there is a meaning in every name, there is a significance in every word. That is one side of the truth. But even if I know the question of Agni and the question of Varuna and the meaning of Indra, that may lead us to a deeper, the moment Agni is there, we have the word of aspiration. But how Sri Aurobindo connect this aspiration as part of his own yoga, where he says aspiration, rejection and surrender are become the three pillars of integral yoga. So you see, he connects all these Vedic godheads to our integral yoga. And for the modern times, modern period, this is much more useful than to say, hey, awaken the Agni within you. Whereas you say, hey, start aspiring for the divine. So he has given us a modern universal terminology, relating many a time to the Vedic gods. For us it's easy to understand, but not for the other cultures. So Sri Aurobindo has given us this human service, so human work, help of translating everything into psychological terms. So even the Bhagavad Gita, he studies only through psychology. So his essays on the Gita is a magnificent book on again yoga, but again in psychological terms. So here we are. So tomorrow, I think, tomorrow we don't have the class. Day after on 22nd. So now we'll go a step lower. After all these 2 days, I was from Tat to Ishvara, the 4 aspects. But now we'll come to the over-mental aspect. So over-mental means the thick place of these great gods. What are they up to? What is the mischief they are doing? Are they really good people? Are they really responsible? Do we really want them? Say, yeah, they are my brothers. They are my elder brothers, but not really superior to me. All those attitudes we'll see. We have 2 more days, that is 22nd and 23rd. We will do more or less on the over-mental. That's the fortress of the gods and goddesses. Okay?